sure.
$100,000. If the police department would not buy 2 new police cars for the 2 new policemen they wish to hire, and simply have them share with the other 27 cars we have, this would save approximately $70,000. Public services could cut back their paving by just 7% and buy a used asphalt packer instead of a new one. The savings would be over $50,000. Planning department could rearrange the paving around the sidewalk on section B of the Greenway and save over $50,000. The water department could begin to utilize one of its employees, who is now a certified water operator, to inspect and monitor the water quality of our wells. We now pay $45,000 for an independent, approximately $45,000 for an independent operator to do this job. At last, Recreation could eliminate the paving of the trail at Backrock Park and save $30,000. As Black Mountain slowly grows, we've only added about 450 people in the past 4 years. We all know that taxes will have to be increased in the future, but not now. We just need to not spend more than we take in. One last thing. I encourage the town manager and town council to not give across the board 4% COLA, which would mean that the department head is making approximately $100,000 will get $4,000, while the man fixing the water lines making $30,000 would only get $1,200. We don't have a problem with job openings at the top end, but rather we have a problem with openings at the entry level. I propose, and I've checked with the Institute of Government and received their okay to the idea of awarding 80% of the COLA to those making less than $50,000 and divide the remaining 20% for the top tier employees. This will tremendously help with attracting new employees and also with retention. Thank you. Josh?
So I'm going to read some highlights from the budget message. We've met, I guess this is probably the seventh or eighth meeting we've met to talk about this budget. I feel like we've spent a lot of time on it, back and forth. We went through every line item in every department. I would say this budget represents, similar to last year's budget, we are behind the 8 ball. We've been behind for quite some time, and we are trying to catch up with where we need to be. This would be from salaries to equipment to just about everything you can name. We have been behind on. So the recommended budget for this year, the total is $18,895,905 for all town operations, capital improvements, and debt service. This is an 11.8% increase over this year's budget. As I mentioned, we do have some new positions in this budget, as well as capital items to be purchased across all departments, increases in operating expenses due to inflation, and proposed capital projects in the utility fund, which are much needed. I would also add that we are doing numerous park improvement projects this year, mainly with ARPA funding, which is about $750,000 worth of ARPA funding in this budget this year. The recommended tax rate for this budget to balance is 0.3210 cents per $100 of valuation, beginning, of course, on July 1st. It's a 1.5 cent increase from the current year of 0.3060. If you have property valued at $400,000, you will see a $60 per year increase over the current year property tax. This is the first time we've increased property taxes since 2010, and from my research, the second increase in 30 years. Ad valorem taxes will yield approximately $5,372,500 based on our property tax collection rate of 99.5%. This is approximately $540,000 over last year. For water fund, I'm proposing a 5.9% increase for in-town customers and a 12% increase for out-of-town customers, also beginning July 1st. These rates are in line with our water fund analysis we had done by Withers and Ravenel a couple of years ago, where they projected out what our rates needed to be to cover our capital costs in the future. Water fees and charges at current rates generate, at the proposed rates, $2,564,100. Residential customers using an average of 5,000 gallons a month will see an increase of about $2.76 per month. Out-of-town customers will see an increase of about $10.62 per month. Stormwater fund, there are no changes in fees for the current year. Single-family residents will still continue to pay $72 annually. The total revenue for the stormwater fund this year is budgeted at $381,800. You'll notice in our local option sales tax, that has increased. We continue to see that growth year over year at an amount of $244,700 is what we're projecting for the upcoming year in sales tax growth. Our utility franchise taxes, $607,805. Restricted intergovernmental is POW bill funds that we use solely for street department, whether that be for paving streets, building sidewalks, buying equipment that is functioning in the street department. Let's see, sales and services. These are mainly comprised of services the town provides, mainly in recreation. However, as we discussed through this budget process, we are proposing a $2 waste reduction fee for every customer, as well as a new leaf removal program that will come into play to get rid of your leaves so you no longer have to bag those leaves. Miscellaneous, we've also seen an increase in this. Our interest on investments has been substantial this year, as we've talked about for the past couple of months. We see positive growth in this category at about $472,000 for the upcoming budget. For fund balance, we are proposing a fund balance appropriation of $1,344,500 in order to get a balanced budget as required by state statute. If spent, this would leave the town approximately $3,166,622, or 33% of a proposed general fund and unappropriated fund balance, which is within our guidelines, which is 30%. Local Government Commission recommends that the municipalities maintain at least 8% in reserves. So we are well above that figure. Now I'll jump into some expenditures. Our personnel category is total. This will be all funds, $9,019,700, or 47% of the total budget. These, of course, account for salaries, wages, FICA, retirement, group insurance, and miscellaneous benefits for our full-time, part-time, and elected officials. The cost of living increase, as Mayor Sobel mentioned, we have in here at 4% beginning July 1st, rising retirement costs, as well as the creation of 3 new positions and expansion of 2 others. The budget contains $871,200 for the town's part in the North Carolina State Health Plan supplemental insurance, and general health insurance costs continue to rise faster than inflation did. Approximately $91,000 has been budgeted across all funds, all departments for training and travel this year. The funding will be used to improve job skills, gain knowledge of the latest equipment and technology, and to remain up to date on a variety of issues that impact the town. Internal training will focus on safety, mental wellness, which we're doing a lot of mental wellness this year, different types of programs for employees, and the use of technology and general compliance. Our operating expenditures category is at $6,462,205, or 37% of the total budget. These expenditures include costs other than personnel and capital outlay that are required for us operating the town on a day-to-day basis. Capital outlay, and this budget accounts for $2,332,500, or 12% of our total budget. These expenditures are for purchasing vehicles, equipment, utility projects, and other items that are too permanent in nature to be considered expendable at the time of purchase and have a value greater than $5,000. Items in the general fund are paving at $500,000, sidewalk projects, multiple park projects that I mentioned, mainly Cragmont Park and Lake Tomahawk Park. And we're doing some upgrades to buildings and technology upgrades. In the fire service fund, we've got vehicles, equipment, such as thermal imaging camera, handheld radios, a drone, and fire hose. Items in the water fund include water line replacements, as we always do every year, chemical analyzers, repeaters, ground penetrating radar, and pressure reducing valves on Chapel Road. Items in the stormwater fund include a stormwater control measure on Terry Estates Drive and a new sidewalk related to the stormwater control measure there. Items in development services fund include a feasibility study for the donated town property. This would be Hemp Hill property and the Ventures property were recently donated end of last year, as well as completion of the Bicycle Boulevard. As many of you have probably seen, we've got a lot of that done, but we're still waiting on a couple things. Debt service accounts for $721,500, or 4% of this budget. This category represents commitments the town has entered for equipment or projects that are substantial in nature. Sometimes the equipment is financed as a way of spreading out the cost to reflect the time of service to the citizens, as in financing of police vehicles. Thus, those paying the debt service through their tax dollars are the ones receiving the benefit of the equipment. Other times, the project, such large scale, is not feasible to pay cash, and interest rates are an acceptable level, as in some utility projects. So I'm going to go through our actual total amounts for general and all the funds. General fund is at $11,129,505. Water fund is at $2,564,100. Fire fund, $2,844,900. Stormwater fund, $381,800. Development services, $779,600. The golf fund, $864,100. PAL bill fund, $290,000. Police Department outreach fund, $22,000. Technology fund at $15,000. PD, Police Department forfeiture fund, $1,900, and penalties and fines at $3,000. That brings us to a total of $18,895,905. That is your 2023-2024 budget.
Anybody have any questions before we open up for the public hearing? Seeing none, I have a motion to open the public hearing for budget ordinance 02310. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. We're now ready for public comments. Anybody wishing to speak, please come up to the table. We have 3 minutes. Right here.
Hello again. I'm Robin Stiles. I live at 206 Central Avenue in Black Mountain. I'm here to support the small tax increase being proposed. I'm representing my Love Corner friends who are standing there now, and the Earth Care team at Black Mountain Presbyterian Church. The words and opinions are mine. My husband Tom and I love owning our house and living in Black Mountain, so it's important to us to support the town and to support the services for every community member. We were amazed when we heard that there hasn't been a property tax, this is only the second property tax increase in the last 30 years, so just a reminder. And despite that fact, Black Mountain has better services than other municipalities in Buncombe County, such as the pool and the thriving community garden. Our town has the lowest property tax rate of the county's municipalities, and even with the tax increase, we'll still have the lowest rate. This year's budget will do two things that are important to us as people who care about the earth and that add to this town becoming the greenest little town in North Carolina. First, the director of the community garden will now be full-time. We're real happy to hear that, instead of part-time. We compost our kitchen scraps there, and friends have plots there where 10% of what they grow goes to Valley Soul. We appreciate the town's support of this valuable community resource. Second, the position of the town's solid waste manager will also become full-time. I encourage that manager to address the issue of food waste. It has been stated that food waste makes up 40% of what goes into a landfill. And that adds more methane to the air. Surely we can do more about composting that food or have citizens pay for their garbage by weight, which some communities do. The town has built a beautiful, easy-to-use line of composting bins at the community garden. Thank you. That is a great step. And by the way, if you'll tell me where to get the yellow paint, I'll paint the traffic islands at the southern end of West College. Thank you for holding this public hearing.
Thank you, Ms. Downs. Well, thank you very much for what you and your husband did down at the lake.
You're
I
welcome.
certainly appreciate
It
it.
was our joy.
Next. Most of you know me, Dan Cordell, 18 Chestnut Lodge Road. This has been my family for 20 years and quite a homecoming for me. So I thank you for the opportunity to speak. I understand that 40% of the Black Mountain residents are over 65 on fixed income. The revale a few years ago, the significant increase in taxes was very hard on people here. And at that time, the town had an opportunity to play with the tax rate, try to offset that burden on the residents, and that was chosen not to happen. It was significant. Now revales are more often. It's every 4 years, I understand, possibly next year. So we're looking at more tax increases a lot more quicker. The economic indicators are predicting a sobering figures. Inflation that increased 4.9 in April, 4 in May, and the Feds have raised interest rates 10 times trying to keep that number down. And it's, they're probably going to do it again at the end of this year. And this does not include the cost in the last 2 years for the average family. It's $10,600 for simple things like food, shelter, transportation, clothing. That's been the burden that we, as citizens, have had to undertake. Now, the council has a proposed $2 million increase this year over last year, I understand. That's a large chunk. And, we received the $2.6 million for the ARPA funds, which is great, blessing that is. And on this year's budget, I understand that $1,855,500 is proposed in this budget to try to help. To use another $152,000 would leave this budget balanced without a tax increase. That leaves another $1,703,000 of the ARP funds available. To me, budget is like a Christmas. You ask your kids what they want, and they give you this long list because your dad and they want all these things to the list, and they don't have to pay for it, which is
a child. And as a parent, I have to look at this list and say, that's great, I know you want this, but we have other things we have to pay for, so this is what we're gonna do. And we adjust. Now, I'm not saying that department heads are children, and you're not parents, but at the same time, most of the department heads don't live in town, we're not gonna pay for this, so they're gonna ask for everything, it doesn't affect us. It affects us. And I just, we have the money available, the $77,000 to upgrade this equipment.
Thank you, Tom, appreciate it. Anybody else wish to speak? Slowly closing. Not seeing any, we've got discussion here, wouldn't that discussion come after closing?
Probably.
Did we have any input online or emails or?
We sent out a form, I think after May 31st, we posted a form on our website to get budget questions. We got 0 questions.
Okay, if that's the case, then do I hear a motion to close this public hearing?
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, now we'll have discussion.
Josh, would you mind to walk us through the water fund and the proposed increases on that just a little bit deeper?
So this is on our website. Anybody can access it. This is our water fund analysis we had done by Withers in April of 2022. So just last year, really about the same time. So, what they did, they take our capital projects we have in our CIP, they look at our conditions of the system, different sorts of things, and they project what you need to be charging in rates to be able to pay for the capital improvements. So that's where we got to the numbers of this year's budget, straight out of this analysis. And in this analysis, on close to the end, there is a proposed water rates from 2023 through 2027. So that's where we got those rates from, and they're just spelled out for you right here. And based on their calculations, that's what we need to be charging to be able to do our capital projects that are desperately needed to be done.
And what percent right now, do you know how you're at of water we're buying from Metro?
I'm going to say about a third.
About a third.
Yes.
Their rates are increasing, you think, or you know?
I'm not sure if their rates are increasing. I know sewer is increasing. MSD, the sewer rates are increasing, I think 5%. Asheville just passed their budget, I believe, last night. But I haven't heard if there was a rate increase. I would suspect there probably is. But we are a bulk water customer, so that I don't think that's going to affect us.
Okay. And then, the split between, in this new proposal, between the in-town rate versus the out-of-town rate is pretty significant, and that's not something, or it's something we've done before, but not to this level.
Not to this level, that's correct. So, it's standard practice to charge the out-of-town customers more than in-town customers. I don't think we've historically kept up with that. And so that's why you're seeing a bigger increase on out-of-town customers versus in-town customers based on that water fund analysis.
Okay. All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
So to clarify, that's kind of a rebalancing of being on more target.
Yes.
On target
Yes.
to increase those rates.
I think this was one of the first times, at least in many years, we have done a water system financial analysis, if ever.
Thank you for any other discussion, and if we don't have it, does someone want to make a motion to approve or deny the budget ordinance 02310?
I'll just say that just because there's not a lot of discussion amongst us tonight does not mean that we haven't put a tremendous amount of thought and had a tremendous amount of discussion on this already. It's been, gosh, I don't even know, 6 or 8 weeks that we've been.
I think April 26th is when we started.
Yeah, I mean, literally every line in every department we've thought through, gone over, asked questions, and so I guess I'm questioned out. I will say that I feel, I've said it before at another meeting, I really appreciate that our department heads came to us having already made significant cuts to their wish lists. I feel like they were mindful, and maybe they don't live in this town, but I feel like they were mindful that it's a tough year budget-wise, and I think we tried really hard to include what everybody absolutely needed. Nobody got everything they wanted. If they did, we'd be installing solar panels next week. Didn't happen, but you know what? I think we covered what was absolutely needed this year. We picked some things that we hope to revisit in next year's budget. They're needed, but they just couldn't happen this year. And the budget's higher this year, and a lot of that is ARP money that just came in and it's getting spent. And that's a one-time, once in a lifetime, really great thing that we got to do. You're going to see some construction, some repairs, some remodeling that never would have happened if we didn't have that money. So I'm excited. We're going to have some ribbon cuttings and some good things to look at in the next, for 20 years or so that happened because of that money. And I'm glad we were able to do that. I think you all know how I feel about the garden staff going full-time, the solid waste person going full-time. I'm total support. Staying with it was originally a 5% goal first presented, and we went to 4%. Our staff has to pay bills too, and so, if it was up to me, it would have been 5 still, but I know we couldn't do that, so we went with 4. I'm really comfortable with doing that. So that's that's where I am about this budget. I'm proud of it. I feel like we did a good job. I feel like the second tax increase in 30 years is not excessive, and 1.5 cents. I get it. Tax increases are never popular and they're hard, but sometimes when you want services, top-notch services, they cost money, and that's where we are right now. We have to pay for, like Josh said, we're catching up to a large extent on equipment. We've got vehicles that are ancient. I found out we were driving senior citizens to events in a vehicle that was 1998 and couldn't go on the interstate. That was an eye-opener for me. So we're catching up, and I'm proud of the budget. I think this council did a lot of hard work. I think the staff did a lot of hard work pulling numbers together, and I feel really good about it.
I would like to say, at first, thank the staff for the work that they did. This is a wish list. Everybody had a wish list. No one got exactly what they asked for. No one. Everybody, all the staff made budget cuts and hard decisions that were made, and I think they did a very, very good job. Not everyone lives in this town, and I think this needs to be said, but they work in this town, and they care about this town, or they wouldn't work here. And I'd like to thank this council for the work that they did. It was hard. We don't agree on everything, and that's a good thing. But we did come together and get this done, and I want to say thank you for that. Thank you for your hard work.
I'm pretty excited about this budget. I think that after weeks of debate and going through it, we have landed in a pretty good spot. And as everyone has said already, this is not, not the dream budget any of us would have wanted, but I think we've done a pretty good job. As as I see it on this council, I think we have to balance fiscal responsibility and ensuring that we're properly using taxpayer funds, and that's probably the most important thing that we do. That is the most important thing that we're responsible for. But we also have to make sure that we're not neglecting the needs of the community. We're not neglecting the services that we've committed to providing. And I think that for many years we've been screwing by by keeping certain investments down the road, and eventually those are all going to come to an end. And we're seeing that now in some of our infrastructure and some of our vehicles and some of our personnel. A good example is pay for our employees. Earlier this year, we had to make the tough decision to implement the pay study, which added $380,000 or something to the budget right there. Now, before we even got to the budget discussions. But by doing so, we knew that was going to be something we were going to have to deal with. And that was going to cause some struggle as we looked at this year's budget. And, I want to address COLA very quickly because employees did get a significant increase last year between the COLA from the last year's budget and then also the implementation of the pay study. But that was to get to the baseline where they should have been in the area. So now that doesn't mean that we shouldn't be, or that doesn't mean that now we're set for the next 10 years like we were last time. That means we have to keep up. And everyone in the region is doing COLA increases. And in order for us to maintain that competitive level, continue to be competitive, then we have to do that as well. And that goes across the board. And of course, I think as other people have said, 4% is less than what was originally requested. It's less than what Asheville is doing. It's less than what many of the municipalities in the region are doing. So this isn't 4% on top of a huge COLA from last year. This is 4% on top of what should have always been. Another thing I wanted to just quickly address was the revaluation that was mentioned earlier. 2 years ago, when I first started my first budget, was the reval year, and we actually did reduce the tax rate to account for that. We went revenue neutral with the budget, which meant that we were lowering the tax rate on our citizens, so that even though the properties were valued higher, they weren't in theory paying more taxes to the town of Black Mountain. I don't think that Buncombe County did that. I'm sure they were paying more taxes. We were all paying more taxes in Buncombe County and beyond, but at least here in Black Mountain, we did account for that. And I think that had we not done that, we probably wouldn't be in the position we're in right now. But we did, and we made that decision, and I think it was the right decision in the middle of COVID and with other increases. But now we're having to make new decisions based on the current needs of this year. And I think that I'm pretty pleased with where we've ended up, and I appreciate staff's willingness to cut many of their requests, and the rest of the council members' willingness to cut some of their requests as well. And I look forward to seeing what we can do this year, seeing what we can do with the ARPA funds, and then we have a little bit remaining to play with in the future.
Councilmember Hay, that number was 33.25 cents before reval. We went revenue neutral. We went to 30.60, almost 3 cents.
And now we're going to 32. Right?
32.10. Yeah,
32.10. So we're still below our rate 2 years ago.
that's correct.
I will echo the comments of my fellow council members that this process, I think, has been thorough. I have enjoyed it. The 2 budget cycles that I've been on the board, I've learned a lot. I think it's a good, open process. I think this council and last council values the employees. We've tried to demonstrate that. And it costs money, and we understood that. And that's the main asset of our town, and of our employees, to deliver the services that the citizens need and request. And so, no budget is perfect, and I bet everything isn't going to play out exactly like these pieces of paper say. That's my guess.
Probably right.
That's an easy thing to guess, but I appreciate the leadership of our manager who relies on his employees. I think we get really good leadership that try to pay attention to our comments and what we want, and they give it to us, and they're the professionals who put it together. And I appreciate the professionalism of the staff. I too am proud of this budget, and will be happy to support it.
I'll also echo all the sentiments shared, and proud that we took on the responsibility of being future thinking and proactive with what we're investing in for the future. It's a difficult balance to be increasing taxes, and we don't take that lightly. I think all of us in this room understand that comes with certain burdens on folks more than others, and that this is, I believe, the most equitable way that we can raise money to take on the things that we need to improve our town and be good stewards of Black Mountain into the future.
Any more comments? So we're at the point now where we need to vote, so I hear a motion to approve the budget 02-310.
I'll make a motion, to move to approve the budget ordinance 0-12-10 as presented.
Any further discussion? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Passes unanimously. Any other communication from the council?
Mr. Mayor, could I say something?
Go ahead.
I want to thank you all for trudging through this. It's been a long journey for all of us. I appreciate you staying with it and keeping the focus on it. I also want to thank my staff too for helping us put this together. Courtney, thank you so much for helping with the budget. Tammy, both the finance department and all the department heads, and every other staff that had a hand in it. I really appreciate everything y'all did. Without you, I couldn't do it. So I appreciate it. Thank you.
And with that, I'd just like to say that the council has done a good job in going ahead and looking at things. This, I view this as I played rugby at Carolina, and when I was in the game, I went in the game to win it. And I was representing the citizens and the pocketbooks, and I was trying to make statements and trying to get things so that it was for the best interest of everybody. But this game is over. So now we start next year, and I look forward to working with you on the future stuff.
I would just say that I think we all went in wanting the best for our citizens and the best for their pocketbook.
I would like to say,